Oh, hello, friends. How is everyone doing today? You good? Lazdog here with Professor Caesar McPoochface. Hello. And let's get back to Andrew Jackson. So, we know everything about his childhood and how a lot of people found it admirable that a common man had become president of the United States. But in 10.4, we get to the ugliness of his presidency, his vendetta against Native Americans, and the Trail of Tears, and essentially the extermination of a race. Remember, he had some pretty negative feelings stemming from the War of 1812 about Native Americans whom helped the British and he fought. So there's already some personal history with Jackson and the Native Americans. So here are the answers to those questions that I had you answer. Compare your answers to my answers and let's see how you did. So the first question was, how many Native Americans were living east of the Mississippi when Jackson became president? So by east of the Mississippi, we mean in the purple here. How many Native Americans were living on this side? Well, about 100,000. Choctaw, Chickasaw, Cherokee, Creek. Those were some of the tribes east of the Mississippi. Most have been forced to move west because we were taking their land. You guys remember that? It's been in every chapter. Now, the Cherokees, they tried to adapt to white customs. They started farming, running businesses, they learned English, they adopted Christianity. They were trying to fit into the United States. In 1827, though, they wrote their own constitution. They basically said, we're going to form our own government. We're going to be a separate nation from the United States. And they did that for a few years. Now, the problem is that the United States wanted these Native Americans gone. They were standing in the way of westward expansion, and Americans wanted more farmland. Why do we want more farmland? Money. Yeah, we want to make more money. These Native Americans are standing in the way of us making more money. Now, Indian removal is not something that Andrew Jackson invented. We've been removing Native Americans from their land since Sweet Tommy J was president, and he had hoped it would have been voluntarily. And after the War of 1812, most of them had left voluntarily. Again, most of them had moved to the Yellow, west of the Mississippi River. But there were those that refused to move, and they were basically down here in the southeast. When I say southeast, in this region, these Native Americans were like, nah, we're not moving. We don't care how much land you offer. And again, they had basically formed their own country. So the state of Georgia, who wants that land there, they passed laws that basically forced the Native Americans to give up their land, that they did not recognize them as a separate country. So the Native Americans take their case to the Supreme Court. They say they're trying to pass laws that have nothing to do with us. We are our own separate country. These laws don't affect us. And do you know what the Supreme Court said? Do you know who they ruled in favor of? Who? The Native Americans. The Native Americans won this battle in the Supreme Court. John Marshall, the Chief Justice, this handsome fellow over here, he was like, you guys can keep your land. When Jackson, the president, hears of this, he's furious. He says, all right, Supreme Court's made their decision. Let's see him try to enforce it. Ruh-roh. Yeah, it's basically one branch giving the middle finger to another branch. And this is where Andrew gets to get that nickname King Andrew, that he does whatever he wants. Because essentially he ignored the Supreme Court and he passes the Indian Removal Act, or at least Congress does. And this essentially gives the United States Army authority to start removing these Native Americans by force. Again, Andrew Jackson ignores the Supreme Court, which had ruled in favor of the Cherokees. So now that there's thousands of troops headed their way, most Native Americans see the writing on the wall and they sign these treaties to get any money they can. But others are removed forcibly. Now, when I say forcibly, soldiers knock on your door with guns aimed at you and say, gather whatever you can carry by hand. We're leaving, and you're never coming back to this house again. No food, not the proper clothes. Most weren't wearing shoes. Most of them didn't have blankets. And they're going to be marching 700 miles in the winter. So they're not adequately prepared for these forced removals. Now, by the time most of these forced removals are happening, Martin Van Buren's actually president. But it was really, again, Andrew Jackson's legislation, the Indian Removal Act, that forced these journeys out of these Native Americans' homelands to what they call Indian Territory, which is essentially Oklahoma. About 15,000 Native Americans were forced to march in the winter. Again, no shoes, no food, no shelter, no medicine, nothing. Guns pointed at them, march. Over 700 miles to Native American territory. Over the course of the journey, about the 15,000 that left, 4,000 didn't make it. About 1 out of every 4 Native Americans died in this forced journey that's become known as the Trail of Tears. So, a low point in United States history, something I think Andrew Jackson, I think he dropped the ball on. Not a huge fan of it. So, that is Jackson and the 10.4 stuff. I hope you were paying attention and compared your answers to my answers. But we're still not done with Jackson yet. He's still got a couple more things to go on his presidency, which we'll have to make a decision. Is that good, Andrew, or is that bad, Andrew? And then we'll make, sorry, I'm drooling all over myself. Then we'll make a final decision. What do we think? Andrew Jackson, good or bad? Bad. Oh, Caesar, let them make their own opinion. All right, my friends, thanks for watching.